You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode number 19 of the Fibro Fight series. I'm your host, Green Irene. Today, the sharing of strategies, tools, tips, and techniques that are designed to help you are focused a lot around cannabis and cannabis consumption, understanding why cannabis is so good for us, especially as fibro fighting warriors. So we're airing live, broadcasting on the Pace Radio Network. You are not seeing me on the screen at this moment in time. Simply, I am having a fibro fighting day. And that said, let me just share a little bit with you here. Okay, first I want to, so I have a little bit of brain fog, just saying, okay? We're on the Pace Radio Network today. We're on Green Irene's THC and, of course, the Facebook page of the Fibro Fight series. All of that being said, please send your questions to me live at info@greenirene.ca. You can book a call with me anytime at www.greenirene.ca. You can also find me easily here on the Pace Radio Network. Any of the stations, contact the station, contact me personally. I'm out there and I'm happy to help you. And I usually do that using a little bit of hypnosis, some neuro-linguistic programming, which for all intent purposes is simply retraining your brain. It's how we speak to ourselves. It's how we communicate with our subconscious and our conscious, how we blend the two and create a good rapport between the two. And of course, cannabis therapies. Now, I myself am a fibro fighter, and I have some good days and I have some bad days. And when I'm having the bad days, my bad days today's times used to once be debilitating, put me in the bed possibly for a week or better. Now, I'm sure that the pharmaceuticals played a significant role in that. And once I learned how to fight fibromyalgia pharmaceutically free, I had to share my story. And I remember when my story began. I first went to my doctor all excited, couldn't wait to share the news that I had found this cure. And I wasn't on pills anymore. I was on pot. And my doctor, you can imagine the treatment. That was about 10 plus years ago. He wasn't overly impressed. So since then, a lot more research has been produced and published, and a lot more studies have been executed, and the results are in. So more than we once had a decade ago of research and information that was at that time mostly and primarily anecdotal. In other words, it was just hearsay and words, and this is what we've noticed and observed. It's now in literary format where there has been a scientific study with procedures and so on and so forth. So that being said, it's exciting times. However, there is still, even though it's been a decade now, there's still a lot of misinformation or missing information. So some of the questions I've been getting in now, I haven't gotten a whole bunch all at once. In fact, what has happened is I've gotten little bits of questions here and there. One of the more recent ones drew my attention, got me to deciding to pull out all of the previous questions that were relatable as well. So it was Michelle who asked, and unfortunately I don't have my notes. Oh yes, I do. All right, so Michelle asked, pure hemp seed oil, does it really work? I heard it cures fibro. Okay, let me first and foremost say that fibromyalgia as a congested combination of symptoms does not have a clinical cure to date, not that any of us are aware of. Now, that being said, Michelle, and anybody else who's listening, there are a lot of ways, coping tools and techniques that we can use to really take back the quality of life that we are living so we can genuinely love the life we live, right? And that comes from the healing of the mind, the body, the soul, and the environment. Yes, environment is a big thing when it comes to fibromyalgia. So today, as we talk about using cannabis, yes, we're going to talk about using cannabis. Woohoo! All right, what we're going to get into is healing with the herb. Why do we want to use cannabis therapy? First of all, cannabis, the tea has many compounds in it. Those compounds, we've all heard of THC and CBD, but there's still a lot of confusion around that. So let me go straight to hemp versus medicinal cannabis versus recreational marijuana versus weed versus pot. My friends, they're all the same. Okay, for those of you who aren't newbies, you already knew that, but there are a lot of newbies that are just tuning into our show today and in the last couple of weeks. So for you, I'm sharing this new information, and also for you, if you are interested, I am more than happy to send you a copy. You just have to pay the postage, so it's $5 for postage, of Bud Basics, which is a book I wrote a few years back, and that's all it is. It is just the down and dirty bud basics. The different here, I'm sorry, I will post on the website later as well as the full presentation for today's show, because for whatever reason it wouldn't load. So it will be available on the website later at www.greenirene.ca. So back to the questions. All of those things, yes, the hemp, the cannabis, the marijuana, the weed, the pot, no matter how you look at it, it's all the same. It is a herbal plant that is grown in around the globe, different strains and different chemical makeups or profiles, cannabinoid profiles, terpene profiles, flavonoid profiles. Those cannabinoids, there are an estimated over 600 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. We have studied and found a predominant, approximately 60 to 80 in the scientific studies, depending on the plant. So when we're looking at hemp versus what we know as recreational cannabis or medical marijuana, or however you want to put it, it's all the same. It's apple trees, just like we have crab apple trees, Granny Smith apple trees, Macintosh apples. We have, I don't know, did I say crab apples? I got those on my mind. We've got green apples, red apples, sour apples, delicious apples, spy apples, rusty apples. You know what? Cannabis is the very same, my friends. There's all kinds of different trees, and they all produce a slightly different type of fruit, but it is still an apple. It is still cannabis. It is still weed. It is still, so hemp, There's industrial hemp, Michelle, and historically that industrial hemp was broken down to make fibers and ropes. And then, you know, there was also some produce that came from it that went into the feed for our cattle and our livestock back in the day. And in today's times, we're not utilizing that near enough. Henry Ford in the 1920s built an entire car that ran off of hemp. It was built from hemp and it was indestructible. This thing was amazing. It was, of course, shut down by big industry and such. But hemp, we should be using it. We can turn over 100 acres of hemp in no time flat, whereas it takes 100 years to grow the same amount of trees. Just saying. Hemp is amazing. So you do have to be careful in the retail market because, yes, with the nascent industry, there's going to be all kinds of snake oil. There's good products, bad products, great products, no products. There's a difference between a legacy market and a legal market. So in the legacy market, going to different types of events like the Indigenous Cannabis Cup at Smoke Signals in the Tyendinaga, going to visit the Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga. Great medical resource center and great place to ask questions. Very well informed, educated people who care that are there for you to help you understand how to use cannabis in a very effective way in which you can glean the most benefit from that plant. So let me back up again. Michelle, your question was, does it really work? Okay, pure hemp seed oil. Now, hemp seed is extremely nutritional. We need to have it in our diet. We should have it in our diet. I add a tablespoon every day to my smoothie or my rice or my potatoes or whatever it is that I am eating that I can sprinkle it on or combine it with, because hemp contains all of the nutritional everything that we need, all of the nutritional substance that we need. Cannabis or hemp is a superfood containing all of the amino acids, all of the fatty acids, all of the essential oils and the nutrients, and like just everything we need is in that little cannabis seed. So yes, it can help you. Is it going to cure fibromyalgia? No. Is it going to get you on the right track? And ultimately, if you keep adding, I'm doing this right, and 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 I'm doing this right, ultimately, you're going to be doing so much right that you are genuinely healing to the maximum ability of your body's capabilities. Now, that being said, rewiring our brain, and because of the pharmaceuticals that may or may not have caused damage, because of the different chemical things happening in our brain from things like anxiety and depression and hypertension and stuff that the chemicals our own body produces that have been out of whack for however many years you've been suffering with or being challenged or fighting fibromyalgia. There's some serious brain damage there. I mean, look at the what are they called? The scans. They're brain scans anyways. And they're called, I can't remember what they're called. SECT. SECT. So it's sections of the brain. Take a look at them. It'll show you where different brains that have been on different pharmaceuticals for too long, there's literally holes in the brain. Here's the interesting thing. That's only because those muscles, those neurons weren't firing together. So there was no need for fatty tissue or muscle built up there. Chances are your nutritional intake was reduced while you were ill, and you're taking pharmaceuticals. So you're adding bad, causing all kinds of damage. Which means we've got to add good, a little bit of good, a little bit of good, a little bit of good, until ultimately we're in a really good place and we're fighting fibromyalgia green and clean. And you can do that with me. Check out the fightfibro.ca website. Check out healthyselfhypnosis.com, or book a discovery call with me or a strategy intake session with me. You can do that from my website at www.greenirene.ca. Okay. Back to Michelle's question about the hemp. So here's the thing. When you're fighting fibromyalgia, there's all kinds of different ways that we want to introduce cannabis into our dietary function. Can you and should you introduce hemp oil? Yes, it's healthy for you. It's a good thing. Is it going to cure fibromyalgia? No. Is it going to help? It's going to contribute to the aiding of fighting. So we just want to keep adding good stuff, right? Crowd out the crap, introduce the good. Infiltrate. Let the good infiltrate. Just like the crap infiltrated and got us sick, now we can let the good infiltrate, and we can encourage that and design it even. So that's a really cool thing to keep in mind. So now moving on from the hemp, going to cannabis. There's two different kinds. There's cannabis sativa and there's cannabis indica. Now, historically, we'd say indicas put you into couch. They are couch locking. They, give your body that whole coma, yay, down, relax, not going anywhere. It gives your head the woo, the woo-woo. You get to go to sleep or rest. It's great for meditation, especially at nighttime. It's also wonderful for hypnosis if you don't overindulge. Otherwise, you can end up in a dreamy state. Not a bad thing, but you might not get on with your day as quickly or get through the hypnosis session as quickly as you had intended if it's in the middle of the day. So I did that to myself recently. Yeah, can you tell? Okay. I did a self-hypnosis and I overindulged with the cannabis and ended up in a half an hour state instead of a 15-minute state. So kind of lost 15 minutes of my day. I digress. Let's get back to using cannabis. So indica couch and then sativas, primarily and indigenously, they come from the more tropic regions around the equator, equatorial regions. So the hot, humid, and these things grow tall and lanky, and they're full of energy. They're very energizing, and I don't know, they're sparkly. I don't know how else to say it about a sativa. Nowadays, because many of the land races, the original land races, are unobtainable, we have phenotypes of them, which means it's an original strain which is now grown someplace else under different conditions, and it produces a new plant. That phenotype, if you will, may be a pure indica. However, most of the time, pure indicas and pure sativas are crossed with other pures and even other hybrids, and now we've got just this huge buffet of beautiful bud available to try and learn. That being said, if you're going to start consuming cannabis, and we'll talk a lot more about this, but if you're going to start consuming cannabis, I really recommend you get this journal. Even just one copy of this journal. Yeah, it's $30, but it's worth it. You can photocopy it a million times for as often as you use it. But this journal, not only will it help you keep track of your different symptoms, it's also going to help you create battle strategies until you get it completely fine-tuned. It's going to help you create a nutritional plan so that you can learn about different triggers you may not have even known that you had. It's also going to get you started with some exercise and activity logs, just to give you an idea of what kind of things you can be doing and should be doing. Again, crowding out the negative influences in our life by introducing new, in small little bites and chunks, positive influences, until ultimately we are so on the road to health and wellness that Fibro lost its chance of ever holding our lives, our health, or our happiness hostage again, right? But here's the most important part about these journals. Now, there's a cannabis consumption record. In that cannabis consumption record, you're going to keep track of, okay, today I am trying White Widow. White Widow, I had this kind of pain for the day. White Widow made me feel like this. This is the cannabinoid profile. I'm giving it 3 for pain, 3 stars out of 5. And I'm making this crap up, people, right? But you get the idea. So if you're keeping track of this, and you do that for 21 to 31 days, keep track of the cannabis and try different profiles. So if today you tried a high sativa, a high sativa and these are the effects that you got from it, you know that next time you're feeling really low and energyless and you really want to get going and you've got some aches and pains and you just want that pick me up, try that strain again. See if it works when you're in this state. If it does, you know the strain that works for you for that pain. But more importantly, because you've kept track of it, you also know the cannabinoid profile. So what terpenes were in there in those trichomes? The terpenes are the smells. And aromatherapy, there is a lot to be said for aromatherapy, right? I mean, I'm not mistaken here. So those terpenes are very, very, they're just essential. You'll know what they are because you've kept track. You will have kept track of the cannabinoids that are in there. So what was the percentage of THC? What was the percentage of CBD? What was the percentage of CBG, cannabigerol, or cannabichromene, maybe? And there's so many other ones that we can start keeping track of. And the new labels, with the retail sector becoming what it is, these labels are being more and more introduced and reintroduced. Like they're getting broader and broader in their explanation or the list of contents, right? So that's really cool for us medical patients learning what's in our cannabis, because we are creating our very own pharmacopoeia, because fibromyalgia is as unique to you as it is to me. And although we have similar symptoms and therefore can find similar strategies to implement, how you utilize your skills in your environment versus how I use my skills in my environment are going to be different, right? That's the reality of the individuality of being human. Okay, so finding the strain that's right for you, it's important to keep a cannabis journal or log, and I really strongly recommend it. If you don't want to photocopy them and make your own, get the package of 3. It's 3 months worth, and that'll be more than enough for you to easily and effortlessly learn what works for you simply by keeping track for the first little bit, tweaking it the second month, and by the third month you are implementing that strategy and it's already retrained your brain. Here's the interesting thing. Earlier I talked about having holes in our brain and having different neurons. That Nanny used to say about our muscles: use them or lose them, right? It's the same thing in your brain. If those neurons weren't firing and there's a lot of extra activity in this part of the brain, that part of the brain just doesn't get the activity. It doesn't get the oxygen. Pardon me. And because it's not getting the oxygen and it's not getting the activity, it just starts to kind of decay away. If we rewire those neurons, we refire them, we re-stimulate different parts of our brain, and we can do that with tools like this. Neural feedback. Absolutely amazing. I'll be talking a lot more about it in a future show. So remember to subscribe, like, follow, share your comments and your suggestions. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. When I cut to commercial break, I will definitely look over our comment section, say hello to everybody. We're going to be cutting to break right shortly. Before we do, though, I want to very quickly address the difference. Okay, so indica, sativa, sunshine, hemp seed versus, okay, raw plant. We'll get to that at a later point. Let's get back to the difference of plants. There's hybrids. These are different combinations. This is an indica crossed with a sativa. This one had these terpenes and this one has these terpenes. Here's the interesting thing. Crossing something like Granddaddy Purple, which is a really, so Granddaddy Purple and Camdog, both of which phenotypes have been and cultivars have been very well established, and their names are pretty. For the most part, the Granddaddy Purple grown here in Ontario or sold at the Ontario Cannabis Retail Store outlet, or the Granddaddy Purple that somebody on the legacy market has available, pretty much they're all the same within 5%. So if the THC it's on average 20 to 25% THC, 0.5 to 1% CBD. You get the idea. And the same for ChemDoc. Now, when you cross those two, until they become established, you're going to get different results. So those two crossed together become what's known as one of my favorite strains, which is Purple Project, a great strain for me for fighting fibromyalgia. I learned through my journals that Granddaddy Purple was sometimes just a little bit too strong for me. ChemDog was sometimes just a little bit not enough. The combination of the two seemed to be a really nice, proper, balanced blend for me in coping with many of the conditions or symptoms or potential flare-ups, because I don't experience the flare-ups like I once did. I still have my battles. I mean, fibromyalgia isn't curable that I know of yet. I just know I've gotten so over it for the most part that it's wonderful, but it's taken me a decade plus to get here. And that's why I'm here to help you. On that note, we're going to cut to a break from our commercial break from our sponsors. Hear a message from our sponsors. When we return, I would like to talk about our endocannabinoid system, why cannabis is so good for our system, the need for weed. We genuinely need to have this in our bodies. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about how to glean the most benefit from this plant, this amazing, wondrous weed. On that note, we're going to cut to commercial break, and I will return in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. 3, 1, 2. Here we go.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own cannabis is easier than you think. Whether you're growing for recreational or medical purposes, BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. From the standard 4-plant recreational systems to the latest cutting-edge hydroponic equipment, BMA can customize your package and do it at discount prices. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and ask us for a free estimate. Or call 613-967-9888 and we will give you an estimate over the phone.
The only way to go.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Yeah, there we go, and we're back. So before the break, I said I wanted to talk a little bit more about, or a little bit about our ICS, but before I do that, I just want to clear up that question, or another question in direct relation to cannabis and the difference between them. Robin, keeping track of the different cannabis strains that you try, and yes, where you get them from will make a difference. As I was saying, if it's a hybrid to a hybrid and somebody just started growing it and they just got but the strain itself has not been established and it's not producing consistent results, you'll want to keep an eye on that until you find the profile that works for you. And then you can say, okay, well, you know what, I'm looking for something like Pineapple Express, somewhere around a 28 to 32% THC count with a 1%, less than 1% CBD. I want the terpenes of limonene and myrcene and beta-caryophyllene. These are the terpenes that I want in my strain. And then your bud tender, who is very well educated on the subject, can do a quick run through on the inventory and stock and say, hey, do you know what's really good for that? ABC Kush. Very, very similar to Pineapple Kush. The difference is myrcene's a little bit lower, but the limonene's a little bit higher. Does that work for you? Woohoo! Okay, so it really doesn't matter the strain name at that point once you learn your cannabinoid profile. Will cannabis cure fibromyalgia or anything else for that matter? Well, it cured my attitude. It cured my connection with pharmaceuticals. I was on 93 pills a day, 2 injections, a fentanyl patch, or injections as required, and a fentanyl patch daily. I had been like that. I was at the end of my life term, and I went off of everything. And I've been pharmaceutically free, fighting fibromyalgia for 10 plus years now. Every single day has gotten better and better in every way. And I realized that is a quote by Emile Coué, who was a great philosopher and therapist, family therapist, and psychologist. Anyways, Emile Coué said, every day in every way, he worked in hypnotism as well. Every day in every way, I get better and better every day in every way. And you know what? Telling yourself this, I've been doing it for the last 3 years, and it makes a huge difference. I battle the bowel conditions. I battle the aches and the pains. I battle the muscle spasms. But I don't have near the flare-ups that I once had. And a large part of that is because I've learned how to use pardon me, it is allergy season. And I've had a major tickle in my throat. So, pardon me. That being said, back to brain fart. Sorry. Our endocrine. Okay, so using cannabis. I use cannabis every day in some way, shape, or form, or multiple ways. And we're going to get to that before the show is over as to the multitude of methods of consumption and ways in which you can glean the most benefit from this plant. But in order to understand why this plant has so much to offer, it's important to look at and consider for a moment its connection to the human body. Did you know that the female produces a cannabinoid of molecular structure almost identical to that of THC? So for all intent purposes, when that infant child is nursing and we say, well, look at how content he looks, zoned right out, he actually is, for a multitude of reasons. One, that chemical produces it encourages appetite. It encourages rest and relaxation so that our body can heal and rejuvenate. Our bodies heal best when they're at rest, right? So it's important to know that. And for infants, it's important to have that much rest so that the brain can focus on what it's got to do to build the cells and the functioning and everything that it's got to do to have us healthy, wealthy, and healthy, well, and wise. Pardon me. Health is wealth, right? Okay. So yeah, cannabis isn't going to cure fibromyalgia, and neither is anything else. I know a lot of my posts get nailed by these spammers that are putting up the cannabis saved my life, cannabis capsule oils. I had this, I had that, cannabis oil pills. This is snake oil shit. Stay away from it, guys. Really do your research. Put the extra couple of dollars out to speak with a cannabis consulting expert, someone who knows what they're talking about, to help you save a crap load of money in trying all these other different products, which if you don't know your profile, they're simply not going to work for you. And they might work for Susie Q, but you're not Susie Q. You're Jilly Joe, you know? Pardon me, guys. Okay, moving on. So we have this wonderful thing inside of us called, it's an ancient, archaic system, as ancient and archaic as we are mammalian. Okay, so just like we have a central nervous system, just like we have an autoimmune system, just like we have a respiratory system, I said central nervous system, right? We also have a system called the endocannabinoid system. That is endogenous cannabinoids that our body produces, and they work in sync with the cannabis plant. They are very similar. So in addition to that, we have because our body produces these molecules, our body also has to have receptors so it can do stuff with those molecules, right? So we have these things called CB1 and CB2 receptors throughout our entire body. Mostly in the brain, we have CB1 receptors, and THC, that's tetrahydrocannabinol, one of the cannabinoids gleaned from the cannabis plant, also a similar one produced in our own body endogenously. And yes, it can be achieved from a few other plants, but it is most highest in the cannabis plant. Fits perfectly into the CB1 receptors in the brain. And because of where they're located, there's absolutely no way it could ever be fatal for you. Unlike opiates, which go back there and they shut things down and can be really, really bad. Cannabis can't do that. Where the receptors are for the CB1 receptors in the brain, they go in different spots and can't shut those other systems down. So that's really, really good news. Now, adding to that, the CB2 receptors, and there might be CB3 receptors, but the studies are inconclusive at this time. CB2 receptors are throughout our entire body. You find those a lot in the organs, as well as in the, in the muscular skeletal system. That's a little bit tough to wrap your tongue around. Musculoskeletal system. Getting the CB2, so getting the cannabinoids that fit into those receptors is absolutely wonderful as well. CBD fits really well into those receptors. So the other thing is THC is a fantastic analgesic. In other words, it's a pain relieving component. CBD is a wonderful anti-inflammatory, and although a lack of a reduction in inflammation has its own pain relief qualities, it is not in and of itself pain relieving. So it is anti-inflammatory. The two combined are phenomenal. Introduce all the other wonderful things and benefits that you get from the different terpenes and the different flavonoids. Just make this a wonderful weed. Now, it's interesting to point out, and there is some research being done by a Dr. Ethan Russo. He is, Dr. Ethan Russo is a cannabinoid specialist. He's just fantastic. I read a lot of his studies, and several years back, somewhere around 2007, I believe it was, or somewhere in or around there, he introduced an idea that we as fibro patients may be suffering something known as endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. So our endocannabinoid system, we are what we eat, correct? Okay, because you heard me say way back at the beginning of the show that our livestock and the food that we ate was once fed with hemp, which meant they were getting the cannabinoids. We were eating them. Therefore, we were getting cannabinoids introduced into our systems, and we are what we eat. So those cannabinoids we introduce through our dietary supplementation afforded our endocannabinoid system the nutrients it required to do the things it does, which is primarily act as a communication center to help keep our body in a perfect state of balance known as homeostasis. So when there's not enough, say, I don't know, room for that nerve to go pop, pop, pop in that area, it says, woohoo, we need to send something extra fluid down to where that nerve is acting up. It needs more room to move around and find its station. Yes, I spend a lot of time in the comic books. But you get the idea of how this works in your system, right? All right. So when we stopped having cannabinoids in our diet, guess what happened? We ended up with endocannabinoid deficiency to a great degree. And that was because of the criminalization of cannabis. When cannabis was criminalized and removed from our livestock feed, removed from our daily, unfortunately, we weren't getting it in our diet anymore. And it took a couple of generations, but inside of a few generations, we then saw an incredible spike to the autoimmune deficiency conditions of today's time that we see so prevalent in today's times. And I'm talking about things like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, irritable bowel disease. I'm talking about autoimmune deficiency conditions like ALS or Lou Gehrig's. I'm talking about multiple sclerosis. All of these autoimmune deficiency conditions can be managed significantly better to improve the quality of life that the patient is living simply by changing the diet, and introducing cannabinoids into that diet is an absolute brilliant bonus benefit. And so our endocannabinoids system, in order to work for us and help keep our body in a correct and efficient state or balanced state, it's important that we feed our bodies what they need. So nutritional supplements that include cannabinoids, adding hemp seed to your diet, this is certainly, again, going to put you on the right track to healing, helping you help you. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the different ways that you can use cannabis to help you. All right. There is a lot of different ways to introduce cannabis. One of the ways is topically. Yes, topically. You are going to apply this to your skin. You are going to as a cream or a lotion, as a massage oil. This will, number one, help reduce the inflammation in that generalized area. It's also really good for your skin if you've got a good base like cannabis infused coconut oil. I love cannabis infused coconut oil. I make my own. There's a recipe on the website. I recommend you download it if you can, www.greenirene.ca. So adding it to your skin, it helps reduce the inflammation. It helps, again, the organ known as our dermis or skin is also helped. So with things like the cannabis or the EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. Topically, so massage oils are fantastic. There's also other ways of introducing it topically, such as an infused cannabis bath salts or bath bombs that you're soaking in a nice cannabis infused bath water. Your skin is absorbing that water and those cannabinoids. Now, keep in mind that THC is, for all intent purposes, hydrophobic, which is why it has to be reduced or retracted from using something that's creamy or dairy or alcohol based. You can't just use water to extract the cannabinoids from the cannabis plant. It's a little hydrophobic, so it will not penetrate past the really fattier more liquidy tissues of our fat and muscle, that sort of thing. So it won't enter the bloodstream if we're absorbing it topically. As I say that, notably, there is transdermal patches that are used for medical purposes that have a gel that will carry the cannabinoid past that exceptionally watered down area, if you will. It's like crossing the creek. The THC will get to the creek and say, no, I'm not going anywhere. But that transdermal gel will help carry it over that, and it will break the blood-brain barrier, which means you will get high. But that is the only way that you will get high or have the psychotropic effects from a topical, is if it is in a transdermal gel. Otherwise, you're just going to get the wonderful relaxation benefits of it. Your muscles and body will thank you 100 times over for it. So that's kind of topically. There's then sublingually. Now, sublingually is an interesting feature. And who was it that asked me? Jeanette. Jeanette, you were asking me about the sublingual, what the difference was. Okay, we want to put it under our tongue. A couple of drops under our tongue. And the reason we want to hold it there for as long as we can. There is a gland right here that goes, that goes straight to our heart, which means it gets pumped through and into our bloodstream immediately and goes immediately to the brain. So much like inhalation, inside of 10 to 30 seconds, you will be feeling the effects of the THC, or the psychotropic effects of the THC, which will produce a calm, relaxing effect. If it's indica, it will, and again too, if it's a sativa. So, pardon me. Adding, pardon me, I do apologize. Adding the under your tongue will get it in there. So we'll get it to you immediately, get it into your brain immediately, and you'll feel the effects. That is only truly going to matter, though, if the carrier solution that those cannabinoids are impregnated in actually will absorb through that tissue that's there. So something like grapeseed oil will, but sunflower oil won't. Coconut oil will not absorb through that tissue under the tongue. So you'll end up swallowing it, which means those cannabinoids get further converted into something known as 11-hydroxy tetrahydrocannabinol, which is about 5 times more potent. The euphoria lasts longer, and it takes longer for the onset. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. So inhalation is probably unless you know what the carrier solution is for under the tongue, again, MCT, everybody says, oh, it's an MCT. MCT simply means medium chain triglyceride. What kind of MCT is what I want to know. Olive oil isn't going to work for me. Grapeseed oil will. Excuse me. All right, grapeseed oil will. So you do want to know what your carrier solution is if you're going to use a sublingual tincture and you want immediate efficacy, or you want it to work immediately. That being said, inhalation is the next quickest route of administration. Couple of puffs, people roll the joints, they take a couple of puffs. Burning your or in a pipe or in a bong, burning your cannabis is the most ineffective way to use cannabis. Okay, you're flash evaporating more than, oh God, almost 50% of your cannabinoids that you're trying to glean, right? You're trying to get this stuff out of the plant. Why are you flash evaporating them? As I say that, I am a person who will roll a joint, spark a joint, share a joint. There's something ceremonial and habitual about it, and it's got to feel good, spiritual, meditative. I don't know, call it whatever you want. It's something I do, and most of us do. However, when you're looking to glean the most benefits, you are best to, and it's not sitting here on my desk, I apologize, have a volcano or a vaporizer in which you can control the temperature. Sweat those cannabinoids off of your plant, out of your plant, sweat them into a vaporous gas, hit that fan, fill up the balloon, and enjoy just the cannabinoids, the terpenes, and the flavonoids. None of that burnt plant material. Pardon me. And you get all of the cannabinoids. You're not flash evaporating them, and they're all contained in a wonderful little bag or balloon or whatever you want to call it. Shatterizers. Great little tools. Perfect clouds. Valerie, meet her at the Karma Cup in Toronto this year. And tell her Green Irene sent you from the Fibro Fight series live Q&A show here on the Pace Radio. Because those shatterizers, again, they're nice, they're convenient, they're small, they're portable. If you have a bigger wallet and can afford something a little bit different, next to the Volcano, the desktop version of the Volcano, which is around $1,000, would be the Mighty. It's called, and it's also by Stores and Bickle, the same one that produces the Volcano, but it's big and it's clunky and it's if you want something a little more discreet, something a little more portable, definitely look at the Shatterizer. And look her up online. Ask for send them a message, Valerie, and tell her Green Irene from greenirene.ca or from Pace Radio sent you. I'm going to have to cut it short, I think, a little bit today. I've got to go and get some lemon water with some ginger happening. All right. And honey. Yes. Honey, mushroom, lemon, and ginger. This tea just isn't enough. So vaporizing is way better than smoking, but inhalation will produce immediate effects. And again, the THC is anti-pain, right? It's an analgesic. It will reduce the pain like that for you if you have the right strain. It will stop a muscle spasm. It will reduce or improve your diet, your appetite, depending on which strain you use. So you can definitely use cannabis in a multitude of ways to achieve the goals that you want to achieve in fighting fibromyalgia. So I've covered topical, I've covered inhalation. Next, and this is a maintenance thing. We talked a lot earlier about we are what we eat. We need to reintroduce cannabinoids into our diet. Dr. Ethan Russo said that a large portion of the autoimmune deficiency afflicted population is suffering from endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. And it's well documented that we probably are. So notably, ingesting cannabis raw. So the hemp seed, definitely get a tablespoon of it into your day every single day. As a fibro fighter, this is very, very important. You're getting all the rich emollients that you need for your brain to work properly, for your digestive system to work properly, to feed the cells so that you can shed the shitty ones, right? Let's shed the shitty and feed the healthy and get onto that new path of health and wellness. I need to go get my tea, friends. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Next, we want to, introducing cannabis in a raw form. So chunking up those leaves or using them like lettuce, doing it raw on top of your salad or as a garnish on top of your potatoes. Now this is raw. Using it on your sandwich for, whatever sandwich you're making for the day, a nice tuna or salmon salad sandwich, fill it with cannabis leaves on top. Oh my goodness, fresh bright bread. That's what I'm thinking I might have today. Anyway, you get the idea. Use it like you would any other leafy green. Put a handful or two into your smoothie every day. The essential nutrients and the beneficial nutrients that you will be gleaning from this raw plant are just phenomenal. It is as good, if not better, than kale for you, and it tastes great. And when it's raw and in its raw state, you cannot get high from it. There is absolutely no psychotropic high associated with raw cannabis, and it is so good for you. And our bodies heal best when we provide them with the right fuel to heal, the right rest and relaxation for rejuvenation, and when we provide it with a healthy environment. So crowding out the shitty stuff introducing the good stuff, puts us in the right place that we get healthier and healthier every day, a little bit better and better in every way, every single day. Okay, now that's introducing it raw. You can also introduce cannabis cooked. There's definitely a psychotropic high that is associated with cooked cannabis. And we'll have to get to this on another show because my throat now definitely needs a nice honey lemon tea. The honey's infused, mushroom infused, and a little bit of ginger sprinkled in that tea and a little bit of lemon. And hopefully these allergies and this throat thing clears up. And I will be back here next week on Friday at noon here on the Pace Radio Network. That's people advocating cannabis education to help you, help you. I'm Green Irene. You'll find more information about me at greenirene.ca. fightfibro.ca. And if you're interested in the hypnosis services that I offer, definitely tune in to healthyselfhypnosis.com. Okay. On that note, I'm Green Irene saying thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for all of your questions. Keep them coming to info@greenirene.ca. And I will see you again here next week. Oh, pardon me.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponic superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.